right, Tiki Tierney here on the Fan. What's happening on a pretty busy Wednesday? 877-337-6666. Teak, what's happening, buddy?
All's
How
good,
are you today?
man. Worried about these Yankees now, right?
Well, it's funny you frame
Worried
it that
is the
way.
wrong word,
That
maybe,
is the wrong
but
word.
it's kind of the right word because they're not doing anything. He's not talking about doing anything. We're worried that they're not going to spend any money. Goose Gossage is going off on
he
Brian
went bonkers.
Cashman, and
He's out of his
wanting
mind,
to punch
Goose.
out Rob Manfred.
He's nuts.
Yankees are a topic today.
Well, they are. On the Goose thing, it was a pretty interesting piece in the USA Today. He's taking aim. He wants to throw Cashman in the trash can. He wants to punch Manfred in the nose. He hit Pete Rose. He talked about Bonds and Clemens, the shift, umpires, scouts. I mean, he was, and that was over breakfast, apparently. What the hell's happening if he's having a couple of drinks over steaks? What is he saying? He's taking down the entire world.
Don't you think he probably had a couple of mimosas or something?
I can't speak to that. I don't know if he's banging it back in the morning. But you know what's interesting too, and some of the excerpts from the article that apply to the Yankees we'll get into. But I'm a little that's not the right word either. I'm a little conflicted.
Mm-hmm.
A little conflicted with what I want the Yankees to do this offseason. Because think about this, right? The Mets' approach is very clear. Spend.
Yes.
All right? And it's galvanized the fans. They needed it. They needed an infusion of talent. They've done that. They've made their move. They're probably not done. So we know what the Mets are doing.
Yes.
All right. They're flexing. And there's a big part of me, and I think a lot of Yankee fans are subscribing to this as well. We want to see the Yankees flex for two reasons. Number one, we want to get better. Mm-hmm. But we also want to make sure we don't get outflexed too much by Stevie Cohen. But, there's a lot of energy behind the thought that Freddie Freeman is going to leave the Braves.
Yeah, and a lot of that energy for Freddie Freeman to leave the Braves and to come to the New York Yankees is from you.
Well, but I'm not alone. And, I'm just kind of reading what's out there. I have never once said definitively on the show that I think that Freddie Freeman is the absolute right move for the Yankees. I would never say that it's the wrong move, but to me, it's not as simple. And this is where it gets really confusing. It's not as simple as saying, well, all right, of course Freeman's a great fielder.
Yes.
Of course he's a clutch hitter. Just won the MVP World Series. Like, the guy would automatically make the Yankees better. And quite frankly, he would bring things to the table that the championship teams had, and this recent iteration of Yankees do not.
Yeah.
And not just lefty pop, but, knowledge of the strike zone, the gritty at-bats, guys like O'Neill, who obviously we talked a lot about yesterday.
The leader, we talked about who else could be the leader in the locker room for the clubhouse for the Yankees.
Aside from Judge.
Yep, he would be that guy. He would certainly be that guy.
Plays every day. But I'm trying to look at this. So the micro view, which is the 2022 season coming up, and then the macro view, and then you start to look at the Volpes and the young players like that, and obviously Juan Soto, which is a big part of my dilemma. Now, if this was Georgie, then I'd say, give me Freeman, and give me Soto in a couple years, and give me Correa as well.
Yeah.
I mean, give me everybody.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter because you know that George was going to cut the check. His son, according to Goose, who doesn't even want to really own the team at this point, somebody else he took a shot at, I look at the Freeman potential contract. What we know is before the lockout, they offered Freddie Freeman, which, by the way, is insulting. If $135 million can be insulting. Mm-hmm. They offered Freddie Freeman 5 years, $135.
Yes.
All right? Actually, was that before the lockout or before the World Series? I'm actually not sure. But either way, the last known offer was 5 years, $135.
32 years old. That's $27 million a year.
Yes, and I'm even okay with the 27 mil, but Freddie Freeman's played a lot of baseball going into year 13. So if he turned down, and I know it was more about the absolute dollar amount, 135, which was offensive to him, but if the Braves are offering 135, then you would think that the Yankees or whomever else wants Freeman is going to have to go 6 and then attach an extra 40, 50, 60 mil. And you probably get up to that 190-ish, $200 million threshold. Now, if the Yankees do that, what does it mean for Soto? What does it mean for shortstop? What does it mean for another pitcher? Like, I am in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
I want some toys, but I don't know that Freeman's the right move.
Well, here's what it feels like for me. It feels like the Yankees are trying to figure out a way.
It was after the World Series.
It was after
I was
the World
right.
Series. Well,
thank you, guys.
Yeah,
After the World Series.
honestly,
which is even worse.
It is worse, but it makes less sense after the World Series than before the
Well,
World
that's what
Series.
I'm saying. The guy just won your World Series.
No
He
doubt.
was terrific, and you give him again,
right.
insulting is not the right word, but you know what I mean.
It is what it is. He wants to be one of the highest paid players, obviously, with this World Series MVP, and as great as he's been for the Braves for as long as he's been there, you'd think that they would pay him for both past performance and the World Series championship and his future performance and leadership in that Braves locker room. But they're not going that way. But I feel like the Yankees, just back to the overall point, the Yankees are they're also in a conflicted state because we talk about the need at first base. We talk about the need at shortstop, BT, and we talk about all of these different potential signings that they could do in free agency. But I also think that they may be looking at their farm system and saying, well, maybe not Volpe yet because he's only 20 years old. He's only played in high A.
He's going to be in double. Good article on him today, by the way.
Really good article. And I read
that.
this, and this is what makes me think about this.
Uh-huh.
Like maybe they're not thinking about, well, we got to go get a Carlos Correa. We got to go spend all this money. Well, maybe Waldo Peraza is going to be the guy for we make do with him. Mm-hmm. And if he's not the guy, then Volpe at some point in the next year, he comes up and we trade one of these guys. I think they might be thinking that we can get by with one of these really talented kids that we have in the minors. The challenge for them right now is that they're in a lockout, so they're not seeing any of these kids. Now, these kids are going to play because they're in minor league baseball. They're gonna go play. Because they're in Double-A, you said, with Volpe.
He'll be in Double-A,
and Peraza's probably going to be in Triple-A.
Yes.
So they're going to see these kids play, but they're not going to see them play on a major league level. And so they're kind of stuck right now deciding, can we get by with one of these kids, or do we got to go spend the money? And it's a difficult spot to be in because, as John Heyman told us, and I think he's right, the Yankees got to spend in order to compete this year with a team that has most of the pieces, save a couple of back ends on the mound. They have most of the pieces in place. They just need some fine tuning. You're going to fine tune with money. You're going to fine tune with your farm system.
But I think they need to do a little more than fine tuning. I'm getting really tired going into the last couple of Yankees seasons and saying, well, if Voit stays healthy, if Torres is right, if Sanchez is in shape, if this guy's healthy, if, this Band-Aid that you're bringing during the offseason to be the second or third starter, delivers. What the Yankees, it's so apparent, what the Yankees miss. And that's why, if you're a big proponent of Freddie Freeman, I absolutely understand it. To a lesser extent, Rizzo fits the bill. To a lesser extent, Hosmer would fit the bill, maybe a possible trade there. I'm a big Olsen fan. That would probably be my target. But what the Yankees are missing is a lefty at bat, in the 7th, 8th inning where you're going to see 9 or 10 pitches and then rip a double in the gap. You're just going to – and I don't even really need to expand on that. If you've watched the Yankees for the last 25 years, you know when they've had it and you know when they have not. So I look at this, Teak, and again, the easy reflex will be spend. But I will just think about this. To possibly not be in a position to get Soto is something that I cannot even begin to wrap my mind around. So no matter what they do this offseason.
And you're saying if you sign Freddie Freeman,
I'm saying,
if you sign a Carlos Correa, whoever, even if it's Olsen instead of you trade for Olsen as opposed to Freeman. And
although you don't have to pay Olsen for 2 years. That's what changes that.
I agree, but then you get into the same situation. Are you going to pay Olsen?
Depends.
Or are you going to pay Juan Soto $400 million? You know what I mean?
Ideally both. It depends what Olsen does.
That's a ton of money.
I understand, but if Volpe's making $1 million or whatever, that's why there's a lot of different ways to attack this offseason. And I'm right in the middle of the road. And I really think, and I talk to my buddies, not all Yankee fans, but my Yankee friends, and, I want this guy, I want that guy, I want this guy. There's got to be an element of prudence. There's got to be a course that's plotted out intelligently, and it can't just be the old mindset, get this guy, get that guy, because there comes a point, as we've seen with Howell, that next guy's not always gotten.
Yes.
Based on the reluctance to, go over the luxury threreshold, something they've navigated for a while. We would have never heard about this stuff back in the day. Not that the luxury tax has always been there, but it was never a consideration. Who's the best player? Does he fit? Let's get him. Now, that's clearly changed.
Yes.
That's clearly changed, and that's fine because there's now more emphasis on the farm system, which is what got the Yankees the dynasty in the first place. So almost by necessity, we're kind of going back to what got the Yankees to their apex, their pinnacle.
But isn't that smart? Isn't that smart
It
to
is
do?
smart.
Because
No, I'm fine with that.
It's repeating history a little bit. It's finding, that, you can spend a ton of money. It doesn't guarantee success. And then all you've done is spend a ton of money.
But neither does waiting on the kids, because we were fed this bill with Hensley Mullins and some other young Yankees back in the day where, for every Bertie Williams, there was a stiff who fizzled out, Ricky Leday.
Yeah.
I could just throw out a bunch of names out there. Guys that we really thought like, man, this guy, Mike Blowers, this guy, Drew Henson was somebody that was incredibly highly sought after.
Yeah.
Nick Johnson, injuries, different path, but we've been down this road. So I am officially, I guess for the first time in a long time as a Yankee fan, I guess what I'm saying, it's almost cathartic here, Teak. I guess I'm really in control of my emotions right now.
Yeah.
I have clarity. Like, I feel good.
Now what makes you
poised.
Now what makes you change your ideas about this? Because look, the Yankees have been 90+ wins, regular seasons for the last few years. They just keep falling short for whatever reason. It is what it is, and we know a lot of it was because of the pitching situation. And ultimately, I think if you're going to go spend some money, not dissimilar to what Steve Cohen did, by the way, because we're making this comparison with the Mets and the Yankees, is you go get some badass pitchers, right? And fortunately they developed one in DeGrom, from the get-go. But you go get somebody who's going to be a difference maker. The Yankees did that. They don't necessarily have one that they've developed that's going to be that, 1-2 with Garrett Cole.
Severino could be that guy.
Could be, but obviously
he's got good stuff.
It's good stuff, but what did we see him last year?
He's got good, a couple starts. He got me a couple of appearances. I actually think he's going to be fine. I'm not worried about him.
Yeah,
I'm not worried about him.
But if he lives up to the billing,
yep.
And so therefore you don't got to go spend on another arm in this offseason. And one of the kids at shortstop turns out to be serviceable for the short term, maybe trending towards a star. Not that they're going to be a Derek Jeter, but they're going to be a star. Maybe you can do it without having to spend all the money. And in some ways, isn't that better for the Yankees long term?
Could be. No, listen, it really could be. I know that Bonds and the steroid guys, A-Rod, put those in a separate category. How many? Forget about the name.
Mm-hmm.
Delete the name Freeman from your memory bank for a moment. Delete positional need, presence in the lineup. Just forget about it. Just conceptually, a player's age, right? If I said to you, no matter what year it was, hey, what do you think about signing somebody for 5 or 6 years who's going into season number 13?
Yeah.
Does that sound right?
No.
It doesn't sound right.
It doesn't. And
that's Freddie Freeman.
It makes you feel like, man, he's going to be 40 years old when this is done.
Yeah, now if you get 3 years, $60 million a year, or whatever. I'd rather have a monstrous AAV. Yeah. I can't attach myself to somebody for 6 years anymore.
No.
I just can't.
And not someone who's a couple of years past 30.
Olsen's 27. Freddie's going to be 33.
Yeah.
This just hit me as well. And we'll get these calls. I see you. 877-337-6666. I don't pretend to speak for Yankee fans on this one, but certain things I will, because I think I know what you're thinking. I'm speaking solely for myself here. Like, listen, if the Yankees get Freddie Freeman, of course I'm going to enjoy it. I'm not saying that I will be, grumpy guy on air. No, I'll let's go. But right now, my position, before things have transpired, is what I just said. And the other thing I noticed, Tiki, and this is quite the altering of the universe here on WFAN.
Yes.
So my entire life, basically, listening to the station, whatever, Yankee fans never talked about the Mets. Never. And they never included their way of doing business. And like if you called Mike and Chris or, I don't know, Boomer and whomever over the years, anybody, you never were like, well, while you were talking about the Yankees, you felt compelled to incorporate the Mets. It was always the exact opposite.
Well, you have to.
Met fans would call up whomever and say, we need to spend like the Yankees. We need to do this. I notice now, and you're doing it more than me.
Yeah.
Because you always bring in, I bring Cohen too.
Yeah.
But you've already done it twice today.
I find Cohen in an odd way.
A little bit of shifting of wins.
Oh, he's also spending a ton of money, BT.
Understood. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I kind of wish it was still the old way, to be honest with you. But point being, boy, things have changed a little bit here.
No, they
have.
They have. And it's not an arms race per se. But in some regards, it is.
Oh, it is in Queens.
It is. That's what I mean. In some regards, half of it is an arms race.
Yeah.
For if you're the Mets and you have Max Scherzer who's making $43 million, or Lindor who's making $35 million a year, DeGrom who's going to make 20, he's going to probably make more at some point. Like, you're looking at the Mets and saying, dude, we're the powerhouse. If you're the Mets fan, we are the powerhouse right now, as opposed to the Yankees, who have been that way for a long time.
Just a little dose of reality, though. When you say that the Mets are the powerhouse, I don't know if you guys can hear this. You know what that is? Shh, shh, shh. Just listen. Would you tell them what that is, Teak?
That's paper.
Yep. It's paper. Paper wins nothing.
True.
Not saying you can't win.
True.
But
a lot of money gives you a lot to talk about.
All right, Yankee fans, this offseason is eventually going to begin in earnest. Once this lockout, now today's important. Yesterday there was a lot of progress.
No.
I'm still not worried. You're posturing, end of the week, then we'll get really worried if we have to. But once this thing is lifted, it's go time. What direction do the Yankees need to go? Let's start in water. Hang on a sec. Hold on, buddy. Can I introduce you? Jeez. Brody. All right, go ahead, dude. Yeah, go ahead. What's going on?
Brody, what's happening?
Let's go.
Hey, so
Feedback.
I had a question because I know you're talking Soto, and I think you're doing something that happened on the fan a lot, like with Ohtani and with Harper. I don't want to talk about Soto. That's not something that's probably going to happen.
Why? Because it's not realistic?
Why not?
It's not realistic
Why not?
for the Yankees.
Why not?
It's realistic for the Mets.
Why?
The Yankees they're tapped out with their payroll.
No,
and
Brody.
They probably have the worst roster in the MLB right now.
The Yankees?
In terms of salary cap allocation in the future, I mean, they have to make a decision.
On
And
who?
I don't think
on
planning
who?
for Soto.
On who?
It's not going to fit their future.
Brody, Juan Soto fits every future. You make him fit.
How though?
But why do
You signed him.
Why do you think that they are hamstrung? Why do you think the Yankees
How?
are hamstrung in the future?
You sign him and he wants him at
okay,
$352.
So are you gonna get rid of Judge for Soto?
I don't think you have to.
I
I don't think you have to.
Stanton.
You got to get
Cole,
rid of Stanton at some point.
You're not going to get any more pitchers, and you're going to get Soto instead of a pitcher.
You're going to have to
Judge?
eat. Listen, but you're going to have to eat some of the money on Stanton. The Marlins are already paying $30 million. He's already showed he can play a little bit of outfield. He's been a beast in October. Don't tell me Stanton's not movable. If the Yankees are motivated to, that is an erroneous take. Stanton has proven, number one, he handles the stage and he mashes in October. So I don't want to hear otherwise. Like, I think that's off base. Oh, you can't get rid of Stanton. Yeah, you can. Just got to get a little creative.
Yeah, just like
the Marlins got rid of him.
Just like the Marlins got creative to get rid of him. I mean, look, and I look at I'm just looking at the salary.
Juan Soto doesn't fit.
But I'm looking at the
This guy kidding me?
salaries for going forward. I mean, there's not a ton that you're worried about right now. If you're the
Sanchez will be
Yankees.
Forget
Forget Sanchez. Sanchez he's making
plays.
$7 million. I know what
what
you're
I'm
saying, but it's there's not exorbitant salaries on the Yankees right now.
No, DJ's contract is fine, and when Soto's a free agent in 2025, that will be 1, 2, 3, 4, I believe 4 or at least 4, maybe 5 of DJ's 6 years will have elapsed.
Yes.
So you don't have to worry about that. Cole at the back end of Cole's contract, that's going to be a big issue, but. A lot of teams deal with that.
But you do that.
Whatever.
You do that for an ace. You're not worried about that for your ace.
No, you'd like to see that ace deliver a championship or at least a representative performance in the wild card game. That would be good. But I think that's ridiculous. Now, if you tell me that, well, first of all, both of those takes were ridiculous. That Juan Soto doesn't fit, and that the Yankees don't have the
finances,
the resources to do it,
the flexibility, the future flexibility, because Soto's not 2022.
He's 2025.
Yes.
Now, I also understand the thought of, because we saw this with the Knicks, let's wait for LeBron. Let's wait for this guy. No, you still attack in the short term, which is why I gave you a few options. Hosmer to trade. He can field as well as Freeman. He's a great fielder. He's not the hitter, but he's fine. He's fine. Find a shortstop that can catch before one of these kids is ready. Go get another arm. Win 90 games. Take your swing at a wild card. It's like you're going to be, bereft of talent or you're going to be a doormat. The Yanks will be fine. But you've got to be creative. And what once used to fly in this city, call up whatever show you call up, get this guy, get that guy, get this guy, those days are over.
Yeah.
So you've got to streamline your focus a bit. And that's what I'm doing today. 877-337-6666. So what would you do? And by the way, maybe you disagree. Maybe in a world, the new Yankee world, you don't think that they can actually fit Soto and Judge. Doesn't have to mean that I'm right. It's just my opinion.